What we launched a few months ago here was an effort to bring together multiple disciplines, especially research, strong areas of science, with clinical areas in the form of clinical trials, usually, so that patients actually had access to the science and the discoveries that were happening, but really forming teams that maybe were partly together, but needed at least some support to really take it into a level where it's reaching patients in clinical trials. And so we called it a multidisciplinary, bringing disciplines together. Value, meaning the research having value to the patients and health and wellness of the community, and a program, so an MVP program. Because of the complexity of what we're dealing with, and because of how specialized every area is, whether it's basic science or a specific area in basic science, if you look at a basic scientist, there are basic scientists who totally understand metabolism. And there are other basic scientists who totally understand, cancer cell death. And each has become, in and of itself, its own specialty. There are scientists who understand behavioral research, how to do research and how to implement measures to actually change behavior, whether it's tobacco cessation or alcohol addiction or drug addiction, and each of those areas are very specialized. The clinical areas likewise are very specialized, whether it's a surgeon who does a specific type of surgery, whether it's a transplant surgeon, whether it's a primary care physician. Things have become complex, and because of that, they become fairly specialized. But most of health and wellness requires the attention of multiple specialties and multiple disciplines. And if you're going to make an impact in terms of the next cutting-edge treatment or the next cutting-edge discovery, and you're going to have the best basic scientists come up with a discovery that's in a laboratory but is so specialized that doesn't necessarily have the same expertise as a physician who knows how to get it in the clinic once it's discovered, you need to really team up to be able to, on the research end, bring those discoveries into the clinic in a rapid manner. And there's often great delays. I think you always hear about, if you discover a new drug in science or a new target in the lab, how long does it take to actually get into the clinic? Well, when you have under one institution all of those components, an effort to streamline that process because you have everybody there and go back and forth, similar to the example I gave with the precision medicine, where you have genomic scientists sitting down figuring out gene changes, sitting right next to those who really understand the therapies. You can make it happen in a shorter amount of time and much more efficiently. So what I would say is we have an opportunity to have more impact in our science by linking those and bridging those together. And it leverages all the types of incentives of why they came here to have impact for the needs of Kentucky. Because one of the criteria in the MVP awards that we are in teams that we are requesting is a justification of how their research, the science, and the clinical trial activity is having an impact on the needs of the Commonwealth. So we do want this to be a program that ultimately is bringing science to patients. What we plan to do is after next week, when we finalize the MVP teams, and I can tell you they're in areas of neuroscience, cardiovascular science, cancer, obesity, diabetes. I mean, all the areas, drug addiction, all the areas that are just critically important that we address. So we have new teams now formed, these MVP teams, and we plan to put them on the website so that people know the progress of each of these teams over time, the status of the clinical trials, where they're at. Sometime next year you could imagine, the 5 to 8 initial ones, the additional 5, and growing opportunities. I think that leverages, and I've seen initiatives like this be leveraged for additional federal funding, because now we have a new team together that's more competitive federally for these large grants that are even more translational, because you have basic scientists and clinical science. So we will have more opportunities for multi-investigator grant applications to bring in federal dollars, and grant applications that bridge the basic science with the clinical science. I think it's also an opportunity for donors. So any of the donors out there that want to sponsor a team, you will be supporting an MVP team of areas of the strongest science actually leading to have impact and giving opportunities to patients.